and then kind of see how I want you to do it. And then hopefully that won't be too bad. As far as this week, you're going to be talking about statistics, and we're going to talk a little bit about the big picture of that. Statistics are a big deal to me. That's what most of my master's degree is in. But not the statistics that we hear just day after day, stupid stuff. So I think the thing that I want you to leave, happy about or feeling good about is the fact of why we do statistics. So the whole point of statistics really is to be able to make decisions. That's it. Okay. So, is this a better way to do it, or is this a better way to do it? Does this shift do a better job of producing stuff than this shift? And if so, why so? Are these tires better than these tires? Just any number of a million different things. If you're a big baseball guy like me, I love baseball and I love statistics, but when you put them together, it doesn't necessarily make it better, which is kind of annoying to me. So for instance, the new statistics, not really new statistics, last 6 or 7 years, they've been talking a ton about WAR and OPS plus and all these other goofy statistics in baseball. And it just annoys me because, especially on my Giants, there's this one guy, Brandon Belt, who's just terrible. He's just awful. He cannot hit left-handed pitching. I don't care who's pitching. Could be a third grader. He can't hit it. And yet they'll talk him up like he is the greatest thing since Willie Mays. And you look at him like, dude, he doesn't hit for power. He doesn't hit for average. He doesn't do anything. Well, yeah, he's got an OPS plus or this and that. I'm like, I don't care, dude. He can't hit left-handed pitching. And so you really can't have him out there every day. And you get into these arguments with people, and it's just like, So clearly there are times when statistics are obviously great. Like, obviously, you don't want to have this pitcher pitching against this guy who's just owned him his whole life. And like, not in 2 at-bats. Like, the guy's owned him in 2 at-bats. Well, you've had 2 opportunities. That doesn't mean anything. But if they've gone against each other like 100 times and the guy is just destroying this pitcher, probably not a good idea, or vice versa. Just things like that. And we do it in our everyday lives. And something that I want you to really focus on this week is to think about, when you do something, why did you do that? Okay, so you pull up to a stoplight, you can go right, you can go left. Why did you go right? And don't just say with I could have gone either way. But ask yourself why. And is it just because it's something I've done forever? And if so, trace it back. Why did you do that? And really get to the meat of it. What I want you to see is that everything in your life basically is based on data that you've collected, and then you make a decision based on that data. It's spur of the moment. You don't even think about it, but that's how you make your decisions. And this is true. When you meet someone that you've never met before, you have no idea how they're going to react. You don't know what they're like. You have no data on them at all. And so when they say something, you're kind of like, oh, what did that mean? Or, they'll do something. You're like, oh, okay. And you don't see it coming. And then after you've been around them for a while, you're like, oh, brother. And you can hear it in your voice. You can hear it in your tone. You can feel it in your heart. I had a boss a few years ago who I thankfully is not my boss anymore. Every time I had to deal with her, just almost 100%, maybe 98% of every dealing I've ever had with her was horrible. And it was just crazy. And so this one time, I remember one of the last times I had to deal with her, fortunately, I knew that I had something that I had to talk to her about. It had to do with scheduling, and it was at the start of the school year. And somebody had decided that, okay, so I was going to deal with the seniors who weren't going to graduate. Okay, fine. So I had to work with them in their math to hopefully get them to the point where they could graduate. Fine. So someone who was not obviously thinking very smartly decided to put this class first period, which, okay, for seniors, not a good idea. But anyway, they did. And there was nobody in the class. And it was the first day of school, and there's no one scheduled for the class. And so I went out to her, and I'm like, ugh. But I better have a backup plan because, just knowing her, I better have a backup plan. So my backup plan was, all right, so this is the deal. I said, I'll work with them during my other prep period, but maybe we can separate an algebra 2 class or something like that. So I can not get stuck teaching pre-algebra or God knows what. And so I went out to meet with her and in the Commons, and I saw her. And so I walked up to her and I started talking to her, and she's like, Jay, I haven't spoken yet. And my mouth just went, oh, here it comes. And she's like, we're just going to leave it like it is for now. And she just turned and walked away. And I went, my mouth bounced off the floor 10 times. And then I looked over at the vice principal. He's like, I said, what happened? He goes, oh, I told her not to bug you this year. Leave you alone. I'm like, dude, give me a heads up next time. It freaked me out because I have collected all this data and I knew exactly what was going to happen, more than likely. And so I had made my decision based on what I expected to happen, and I was surprised a little bit, okay? But everything we do in our daily lives, whether we go right or left, whether we start this time or that time, however we do things, most of what we do, or a lot of what we do, is based on what we've seen in the past, okay? And that can be, dealing with people, however it happens to be. Really try to focus on that this week, and focus on, why did I do that? And then try to work it back. And sometimes it's because, you did it because that's the way your old man did it or whatever. And so you just learn it that way. And it could be that it was something stupid back in the day that, this is why they did it. But a lot of things, when you're in control of it, it's because you have some past experience. And I like to think of it as in the back of my mind somewhere, I've got probably not a spreadsheet, it's probably an actual database. But so this person, my old boss, for instance, so like my brain automatically starts doing like a pivot table, if you will, sorts out everything that has to do with her, and then sorts out everything that has to do with this. And then it's like, oh, there's the probabilities, or here's what's most likely to happen. Therefore, I should do this and such. Okay. It's that way when you deal with certain people. There's certain people you have to talk to a certain way, and that going in. That's just based on how it is. One of my best friends in college, you had to tell him to be somewhere half an hour early, and he might make it there on time. One time he actually got there 30 minutes early, and I'm like, dude, what are you doing? He's like, well, you said be here at 3. I'm like, yeah, I know, but it's not till 3:30. And he's like, well, why'd you tell me 3? I'm like, well, dude, I've been doing that for ever since I've ever known you. After the second time I ever waited for you for half an hour, I started doing this. He's like, no. I'm like, yeah, everybody does it to you. He's like, really? And yeah, his girlfriend, everybody. He wasn't very happy, but I said, well, that's what happens when you make us wait all the time. People just start, based on this, I should do this. Okay. So that's the whole point of statistics. And whether that's in a business setting, whether that's in a personal setting, baseball, whatever it happens to be, that's the whole point. What should we be doing? There was a time here in St. Helens when I first came here, we had about 800 kids, 850 maybe, which is about where we are right now. But then after about the first 6 or 7 years I was here, 8 years we were here, we were up to about 1,200 kids. And the city was growing like crazy. And we were talking about maybe building a second high school out here and a second middle school. And there's all these plans, and there's all, we're going to have to add on to the sewer is going to have to be added on to, and just all kinds of planning. Well, when you're a county commissioner, city commissioner, you have to be looking at that and going, wow, this is how fast things are growing. Keeping an eye on that, because you can't have all of a sudden the sewer is not big enough. Okay, because that takes planning. You have to start planning years ahead of time so that you can get it on the ballot, get it passed. If you have to buy more ground to put it, whatever, and then this doesn't just get put in overnight. So all that has to be done. Well, is there a building out for that? And then at some point things changed. So for instance, our paper mill, the biggest paper mill shut down. There's still one machine left in here, but it shut down. Well, a lot of people left when that happened. Then they had a lumber mill. It shut down. Actually got shipped to Korea. It shut down. People left town. And so there was a lot of jobs in this community when I first came here. And then there's not really any jobs at all anymore. There's a few, but most people commute to Portland for their jobs, so we're more of a bedroom community now than we were then. And now we're back down to around 850 in the kids department again. Okay. Again, as school superintendent, as county commissioners, all these things, you have data, you're collecting data, and you're projecting for what's going to happen. And in this case, it changed, and things changed drastically. So when we get into probability in the next couple of weeks, because probability and statistics go hand in hand always, we'll be talking about, given that, if nothing else changes, this is what should happen. Oh, wait, something happened. Well, given that this new thing happened, now what's the probability of the thing happening? So we'll be doing a lot of that with data. So I really want you to focus on that. That's the overarching scheme of statistics that I like to come at it from. It's not just, here, let's make some graphs. Isn't that cool? Not really. And it's not just, what can we, find a mean, median, and a mode, for instance. That's not very exciting to me. So yes, you will be doing a few things, talking about analyzing some data. And if it's a short list of data, like 5 or 6 numbers, sure, you can find the median by hand. Yeah. And you can find the median, you can find all that. And that's great. That was all stuff you did like in the 3rd grade. But there's a reason those numbers are kind of big. So we're going to talk about that this week in a video. So there'll be some of that. There will actually be next week, sorry. And there will be talk about that. We talk about percentiles. If you have a kid, you know about percentiles. So when your kid is born, they'll say, hey, the kid is this and such inches long. That's, the 50th percentile, the 60th percentile, whatever. When he's in the 3rd grade, he reads at the 90th percentile. So, that's pretty good. He reads it toward the top of his class. He's in the 10th percentile in math, and that's not so good. He's on the bottom end of things. And, and the whole point of that is that you can get a measurement and then do something with it. Again, that's the whole point of statistics. So just be aware of that. If you've ever taken your child to a well baby care, like the first time they meet that doctor, they'll always ask you things like, and how tall is the dad? How tall is the mom? Why? Because they're going to track this kid's growth over time. Okay, so if the mom and the dad are, like in our case, 6'3" and 5'10", then obviously your kids are going to track toward the higher end of the spectrum, or they should. And if they don't, let's go see what's wrong with them. Is there some kind of a throwback gene? Is there something is there a problem? What? If your parents are short but the kid is really tall, that's kind of weird too. There's a girl here in St. Helens. Well, she used to live. I don't know where she lives. I don't know where they live anymore. I lost track of them. But I used to teach. I knew the mom and dad pretty well, and the one daughter, I guess she's probably 24 now, but same age as my oldest. But the parents are just average height. Nothing. My mom's a little taller than average, but not a lot. Maybe 5'7" or something. The dad is 5'9", 5'10". He's not very tall. And so their daughter is 6'3" or 4". I don't know. She's tall. And they found out she has some kind of condition based on tracking her over time. And that was really neat. And that the way the doctors did, they're like, wait, this is weird. Based on this tracking, this kid should not be this tall. Maybe we should go do something about it. Now, that's not to say that you're not going to have weird growth spurts, right? You have people that don't get their growth spurts till they're senior in high school. Happens. You got other kids that grow really fast and they never grow again. Girl, I went all through school with her. In 6th grade, I remember her scaring me. She was the tallest kid in the class, maybe 5'4", maybe. I don't know. She never grew another inch, ever. And when we graduated from high school, she's one of the shortest kids in the class. And it's just weird. That's where she got all of her spurt at once. And if you'd looked at her growth charts, it'd been off the map, like, freakishly tall. And then now she's, I don't know, freakishly short, but, pretty darn short, shorter than average. And because she never grew again. So things like that. Again, statistics is all about what can we see, what can we learn, and what can we do about it? What kind of decisions can be made? Okay. So for most of you, it'll probably be more like just your personal stuff that you'll notice. You won't really think about. You'll just make decisions, but you're basing it usually on statistics. If you're not, it's just kind of weird. Think about that. You're just like, oh, I'll go right today. Why? I don't know. I just feel like it. Oh, okay. And if all your life is that way, if all of your life that way that's weird, man. Like, why do you go to that store? I don't know, because I like the sign colors or something. No, I go to that store because, maybe it's the best prices or whatever. But maybe you did it because there's usually some kind of a real reason, like a bottom line reason behind most things that we do. I can save money here, whatever it happens to be. Just think about that this week. And we'll continue that topic a little bit more next week. What I want to do in today's video, though, primarily is the idea that talk about our project a little bit, financial project, and just kind of work it out ahead of time. And again, it's all done up for you. That Word document that's listed in there tells you kind of what to do. But I think a lot of people benefit from seeing how it's kind of worked out. So if you own a home, I would prefer that you do it on your own numbers. I couldn't care less. I don't know. I feel like I'm a doctor. I've seen them all. I just don't care. It's just a number to me. I honestly don't care. But what I really would like you to do is walk away having learned something. So if you're making up numbers to do a project and it has nothing to do with your daily life, then when you're done, I don't think you really learned anything. My hope is that you learn something, but then it'd be really cool if you could have a conversation with your significant other there and then oh, look, we could actually save some money if we did this and such, or maybe we should try that. So over the years, I've had some pretty cool ones. There's this one lady, she owned a boutique in Portland somewhere, and her husband was some business guy. And I met him one time. Seemed like a really good guy, but we never really talked about it or anything. He seemed like a really nice business guy. And so one day she was doing this project, and she did all this work, and then she came and talked to her husband, and she goes, I think we could save this much money if we refinanced. And he goes, I know, we did that last month. And she's like, wait, what? Yeah, remember when we went to the bank and signed all those papers? And she's like, oh, well, anyway, he was really excited that she finally understood something about finance, and they had a really cool conversation. And then the other gal, she could have been Oprah's twin, like in every way, personality, looks, everything. She came in one day and she's like, oh, I was the greatest. I sat my husband down and I talked to him for 3 hours about we're going to do this. I'm like, okay, well, somewhere between those two, you have some kind of a cool conversation about stuff, but just see if it's something that can work out for you. But I think it's helpful if you use your numbers. To me, it just makes the most sense. Now, again, if you own a home, you start from there. This is, this is what we bought our house, and then you could talk about, what if I paid extra on it? What if I refinanced it? What if I had put more money down versus than what I did? Okay, those are the kind of things that I want you to do. In both cases, I want you to riff on the same house the whole time. Okay, so a couple things. No student loans. Student loans are weird. Student loans don't get the same kind of interest charges. Student loans have different rules, different payment amounts. Depends if you're working or not. No. I don't want you to work on I don't want you to do car loans either. You certainly have the ability to do a car loan now, but that's not what I want. If you do a car loan, you could pay an extra few bucks a month. You're not going to see hardly any savings because your loan was probably for 5 years, maybe 6. Your loan was, although it might have been at 7 or 8%, maybe if you had a bad, if you had like lower credit, you got through a bank, whatever. Even if you had it at 7 or 8%, the amount of money you borrowed is not very much, unless you bought a Lamborghini or something. It's not very much. You borrow 20 grand or something. So you borrow 20 grand for 5 years, you're not going to save a ton of money by paying extra on it. Okay. That just doesn't work that way. So the reason we save a lot of money by paying extra and or refinancing is because we had a 30-year loan typically, and we still had probably 15, 20, 30 years left, 25 years left on the loan. And we borrowed, a couple $100 grand or more. All right. Even 100 grand is a lot of money to borrow. So those are the reasons you end up saving a lot of money. So borrowing a small amount for a car loan, this doesn't really do much for us. So I'd rather you didn't. I don't want you to do that. I want you to just do it on a house. Now, if you don't own a home, then I want you to kind of go through these steps. And so I'm going to share them over here on this other computer real quick. And I will share that screen with you momentarily. Oops. Yeah, here we go. I think. Yep, there we are. Nice. So in this situation, what I'd like to see you do is kind of talk about what you can afford. So let's say that you think you can afford a $20,000 down payment. Now, again, I would prefer that this be more or less a real number. Okay. So, maybe it is a little funny money, but just go with it. Something like that. If you don't think you can afford a down payment right now, but it's 20 grand or whatever, just kind of go with 20 grand probably for right now. Probably don't put 30 or 40,000 on there for a down payment. That seems probably a little unrealistic for most of us to have saved up that much money before you get started on these things. Okay. And then ask yourself what you can afford for a monthly payment. And how would I go about that? Well, if I was renting an apartment, let's say for $1,300 a month, then I could probably afford to make that kind of payment on a house too. Okay. Or maybe you're spending $1,100 on rent, but maybe you think you could bump up to 13. Okay. Try to stick with numbers that make sense to you. Okay. Don't say that you can afford 2,500 when you can't afford 2,500, because although you can get numbers that will work, it won't make sense to you when you're done. I saved it, I don't know, whatever amount of money. Well, I guess, but you could never have afforded that house to start with. So I'm not sure if that was that exciting to you. Okay. So I want you to come at it like this. And so I want you to say, well, all right, so all this is true. Then what kind of house can I afford to buy? Well, remember, present value is going to be I also want you to call your bank, your credit union, wherever, and get a loan. So let me jump out of here real quick. Let me jump back on here and Let's see. So you can do this a couple of different ways, and it doesn't make any difference to me where you go. So for instance, you could do Inroads Credit Union, St. Helens here, yes, mortgage rates. The more, by the way, the more you are, the better you are at searching for them here, they'll take you typically closer to where you want to be when you go in. So the mortgage rates, now my son used to work at the credit union here. So I remember chewing him out one time about where his stupid credit card rate or where their rates are on their website. And he goes, oh, they're right there at the bottom. I'm not sure how I'm supposed to find that. There we go, mortgage. They are listed on here somewhere. Just gotta find the dumb things. Here we go, render by, da, da, da. Well, anyway, if you can't find them, which apparently I'm not being able to find them right now. So what I'm going to do then is go somewhere else. Don't spend an inordinate amount of time looking for them. U.S. Bank, Oregon mortgage rates. Oh yeah, 30-year fix, 3.5%. Boom, right there. I'm going with it. Okay, I don't even care. I'm going with it. 3.5%. Okay. You want to call your bank, talk to your banks, particularly, go for it. I think that's a good idea. It can help you learn where things are at. So 3.5%, 30 years. All right, so remember, we're just going to do interest divided by 12. I'll do this on the actual screen in a minute. 360 negative A1. But remember, this is equal to how much I can borrow. And then, of course, that plus whatever my down payment is how much I can afford to buy. Okay, so I will grab Excel real quick. So in Excel, and again, just do what we've been doing. Everything's exactly the same in that regard. So what do we say, 3.5%? Name that, and if you're using Google Sheets, as I showed you before, do it the exact same way I showed you before with the dollar signs. If you're using this, oops, Google, or if you're using Excel, name them. So equals PV. Oh, darn it. Didn't name this payment yet, did I? Sorry. All right. So equals PV interest divided by 12, comma 360, comma negative of the payment, right? So I can afford to borrow 289,503. That's cool. So this plus 20 grand is what I can afford to buy in theory. Okay. So when I go shopping now, that's the kind of house I'm looking for. That is the maximum I can afford to buy. Max I can afford. Now, I do want to say this. When we go shopping, and we're going to do that right now, like, oops, darn it. So I pulled up Hillsboro. I did not put a filter on this yet. I'm going to in a second. Listen, you know, it says I can afford, what did I say, 309. Well, I could probably talk some guy down from maybe 320 or something, maybe in some years, some good years, right? Sometimes I probably can't even afford this $300,000 home you see here because, you know, there's going to be a bidding war for it, whatever. Those are real life issues, but for the purposes of this, that $300,000 home is just barely within my budget. I'm going to go for that house right there. Okay. Now, that said, if you are a person who is listen, I like to buy things cheaper, man. I want I almost forgot. No condos. Stay away from ones that have HOAs on them. I'll show you all that in a minute. And then also stay away from, so no HOAs, no condos, no apartments, and no just plain land, okay? I want just a single family dwelling. So this guy right here, so come up here to the price, and we're just gonna put a max on there of 309. Boom. So now everything's on there, but then you can look up here at home type, just put houses on there. And so all it's gonna show you is, in theory, houses. What just happened? Oh, what are you doing? Okay, yes, here we go. So these houses, well, for most of them are within my price range. I'm not sure why that sucker's there, but whatever. Okay. What just happened? Something's happening. My Zoom is going crazy. No, I guess not. Okay, anyways. So there they are. So maybe I'm gonna go with this house right here. That seems like a nice enough house. Oh, and that's the other thing. A lot of people, when they first start doing this project, well, first of all, you can, let's be honest, you can get lost in Zillow for days. Okay. By the way, if you're a Redfin person, knock yourself out. If you're a Realtor.com person, knock yourself out. I like Zillow. It was the first one that I ever used, and it's the one that makes the most sense to me. But they all tell you the same information. Now, if you scroll down on here, I gotta get my glasses on. Pardon me. There we go. Ooh, feel better. Oh, look, you can even take a tour today. So you scroll down, there it is. Isn't that nice? Okay. Down here, you will see the tax history on that thing. Okay. So there's a couple things that I want to talk about. When you come down here, there is no HOA. Do you see that right there? No HOA. Please stay away from the HOAs. If you see HOA fees, that means you live in a homeowners association neighborhood, and they will collect from you an extra $100, $200, $500, whatever it is, a month, which that's a lot. So be aware of that. For the purpose of what we want, stay away from that on that one. Find one that doesn't have an HOA. Just it is what it is. Some people really like those kind of places. I can't imagine living there, but whatever. Friend of mine, she had this really fancy house out in Forest Grove with her husband, and they sold it, and they moved to this teensy tiny little cracker box in Lake Oswego, which cost a lot more than the big place in Forest Grove. I mean, a lot more. Plus, they're going to be paying more in taxes. Plus, they had this ridiculous amount of HOA fees too. Whatever, to each their own, I guess. Okay. So when we go to buy this house, we are going to buy this house. We're going to say we're going to buy it for $300,000 right off the bat. Okay. So let me get out of here. Come back to here. So yay, 300,000 is my purchase price. Purchase price. Okay, cool. So back to it. Oops, you can't see that. I just wrote that down. Don't worry, you didn't miss anything. I just wrote it down on my notes. And let's go into Excel here. Okay. So in Excel, I guess I'll start a new sheet, because why not? Come on. I said I would. Computer hates me today. All right, there you go. Why? Oh, what's going on? Okay, you'll type, but you won't click. Interesting. Fascinating. Oh, there you go. Oh, good, cool. All right, sorry about that. Okay, so if I bought this house for 300,000, you well know we're going to borrow 280, correct? That makes sense. Again, the new part of what we're doing today is, well, not new, but the idea of what I can afford to buy, and then we're going to tweak that just a little bit. We're getting 3.5%. I'm going to go ahead and enter it again over here. Notice that this time I won't know the payment. Oops, I won't know the payment this time, because it is less than, oh, fart. That's what happens when you name it the same name, Jay. Interest 2, there you go. Nice. And then payment, I don't know the payment. You think, well, isn't it $1,300? Well, no, because I didn't buy the full $300,000 worth of home that or $309,000 I could have afforded. So it's going to be just slightly less than that, because I didn't spend everything I could have spent. That makes sense. So I left like $9,000 on the table. I could have spent a little bit more. So again, instead of being $1,300, it's $1,257. Somebody at this point might say, well, that's cool. That's exciting. But that means I could still pay the full $1,300 a month and be paying an extra $43. That's right. You could do that for sure. For sure. So you said you could afford $1,300. You're welcome to pay that full $1,300 every month. And that would be just like we did the other day, or on the loan worksheet, paying extra. Now, just for fun, I'm going to go ahead, put this in, and just clarify that it works. And because I want you to use the spreadsheet anyways to talk about the savings. Now, for each one that you do, I want a different tab. So like on one tab, I want it to be And this is where I paid 500 extra. This is where I did this and such. This is where I did this and such. So I don't have to try to figure out what you're doing. I want one on every tab. So that this, tab 1 says this, tab 2 is about this, and so on and so on. It just makes it easier to grade. Nice. So there it is. So 1257. You're like, can I afford 1257, Jay? I think you can. I mean, you said you could afford 1300. So if I did this, it would be 1257 per month. Yay, I can afford it. Actually, no, you can't. Sorry. There's a little thing called taxes. Most people forget about them. Most people don't really think about them too much. And so here's what I want to talk about. And that's the second part of the thing, is property tax. Property taxes are no small amount of money. Okay. Figure $2,000, $2,500 a year, pretty conservatively on most places. Hillsboro-ish, that are in the $300,000 range-ish. That's a pretty good $2,500 a month, or $2,500 a year rather, is a pretty decent estimate there. So if you did that $2,500, let's just say, divided by 12, that's roughly $200 extra a month that you have to come up with. Okay. So then the question is, well, where's that going to come from? Well, you had $1,300, you said, saved aside to pay the house payment with. Oh, so that 200 is going to have to come out of the 1,300. Yeah, that's right. So in reality, we're talking about 1,300 minus 200 is roughly 1,100-ish. Yes. In other words, you don't have a full $1,300 anymore to mess with. You really only have $1,100. Now, in Zillow, and we'll show you, Zillow actually, oops, where'd it go? Sorry. Zillow actually gives you the property taxes. If you scroll down here, you'll see the property taxes are right there, $2,900. Say, that's a little more than you lied to us, Jay. I know. I'm sorry. I'm a horrible person. So I'll just divide it here and I'll let you know what it is. 2,900 divided by 12. We're looking at about $242 a month. We're looking at about $242 a month for property tax. Wow. So 1,300 minus 242 is 1058, right? You really only have 1058 to buy a home with. So what are you saying? Well, what I'm saying is you're going to have to redo your calculation now. So equals PV 0.035 divided by 12, of course, 360, of course. But instead of 1,300, negative 1058. Okay. Now, if I'm you, I'd probably go a little more conservative and go, let's see if I only have 1040. In other words, I have less than, right? What this does, it'll give me a house that's a little cheaper, and therefore it gives me a little bit more of a cushion, a place to start, and then I can kind of work out from there. And so if I did this, let's just say, the whole point of using Excel the way I've showed you is pretty awesome, because then all I have to do is come over here and change that number to 1040. Wow, see that? I can only afford a $250,000 home now. Okay, everything updated for me. That is awesome. Now, if I could go on Zillow, you go away, I can't afford you. Uh-oh, what just happened? No, I don't like it. Click on this price here and put it into 250 instead. Oh, I don't know what this is telling me. Did I put in this? Oh, I see. I dragged the map. Sorry. We're in Salem all of a sudden. One moment, please. Yep. Oh, there we go. Sure. Again, stay away from the condos and the townhomes and so forth. Oh. Oh, might be a little tricky to find such a place in, say, in Hillsborough. What in the Sam Hill is this? Is there really a house? Kind of. Okay, so let's say we want to buy this dump. Okay, excellent, great, cool. 1950. Oh yeah, that's great, classic. Okay, well, whatever. So let's say we want to buy this place. Good for us. So 210, we can completely afford 210, but let's just show that we can actually do that. So again, we have this whole thing set up. So if I bought a house for 210, that means I'm actually borrowing 190. Make sense? So now if you look at it, we're there, we're at 853. So 853 plus the property tax, which this isn't our property tax, but it will be in a minute. One moment, please. The property tax on this home is not 2,900 because, well, obvious. Oh, you can't see that. I'm sorry. I forgot I wasn't sharing. One moment, please. You'll see. I'm just gonna look at Zillow real quick, and I'll come back to you. So on Zillow, it was $1,430 for property taxes. So let me share with you again. So what I did was I changed how much we're borrowing. I changed it to 190, which automatically updated my payment to 853. So this is actually, what did I say? 1,430. So this is actually only $1,430 a year in property taxes, which means I'm paying 119 for property taxes on top of my 853 for a grand total of 972. Can I afford 972? Sure, I can. That's easy. That's an easy thing to do because I said I could afford $1,300. Okay, so that is the first step if you don't own a home. This whole thing I just did is the first step if you don't own a home. How much do you think you can afford to put down for a down payment? How much can you put down? Cool. Write this down. How much can you afford per month? Great. Call your bank. Awesome. Do this first thing. Sweet. I want to see this in a tab in Excel. Oh, wait. No, I can't because I can't afford those property taxes. Okay. If I can afford a $309,000 home for the purposes of this thing, what we're doing right here, I don't want you to go find, well, look, there's this cute little cottage for 120,000. Isn't that great somewhere? No, not for what I want you to do. Because I want you to see that again, the idea of property tax, it's no tiny little number, right? It's going to be a decent amount of money every month that you have to account for. So if you could afford a $300,000 home, but you went and bought a $120,000 home, which you're more than welcome to do that in the real world if you can find one, then clearly you could easily afford that house and the property taxes, probably and an HOA and everything else on top of that because it's such a tiny house compared to what you can afford to buy. Okay. So what I'd like you to do is, again, figure out what you can afford to buy. So 300, we said we could afford to buy, I think 309,000. So whatever. So I went out and looked for a $300,000. I found one for 300,000. I was $1,257 a month. Oh, but there's an extra $200 property taxes I forgot about. I can't afford that. Dial it back to that. Okay, now I can afford about 1,100 or 1,050 or whatever. Then go and recompute it. Okay, now I can afford a $250,000 home. Okay, here's one that fits that criteria. Run through it. Boom, here we go. Now, what a person might try to do at this point then is this. One thing that you might do, of course, clearly you can find your baseline. How much does this house cost me? Well, I don't know. That's pretty easy to do. 360 times the payment plus the down payment. So just like on the loan worksheet, that's your base amount of money you're gonna be paying for this house. So it's $327,000. Now, one of your first what ifs might be, well, what if I paid an extra $447 a month to bump it right to the $1,300 mark? It's a good question. If you could afford, that's not true. 120. Well, let's do the math here, shall we? I said I could afford 1,300. Cool. But I'm on the hook for this much and this, and of course I have to pay that property. So what if I paid an extra $327 a month to bump it up to the full $1,300 out of my pocket? course, 120 is going to the county for property taxes, but the bank would be getting this plus this from me. I'd be paying $11.80 to the bank every month. And so what would happen? Well, you paid off sooner and you'd save money. Could that be my first what if? Yeah, you sure could. And then you could always do a refinance later on down the line. You could do paying extra on top of that. You know, what happens if I get hurt and I have to, for a couple of years, not pay extra? What happens? These are the kind of what ifs that I want to see. And so if you haven't looked at it yet, I'll bring it up here. Some of you probably have not. If it were me, if I was in your shoes, I probably wouldn't have either. I've been too busy. Somewhere. Wait, oh, here it is. No, this is not okay. Move. On the home page here under assignments, here we go. Just so we're clear. So again, if you own a home, I want you to use your home. But if you don't have a home, just a minute, I gotta go on student view. Assignments. There it is, financial doc. There it is. Okay, so there it is. So your first one is, for instance, we bought a house. Suppose you refinance, how much you save, and so on and so on. So you guys are doing another 4. You're gonna do a total of 5 what ifs. Okay, so that's it. If you don't own a home, then I want you to work it out just like I showed you, and then you're gonna do 4 what ifs after the first thing that you did. Okay, so the first thing you did is, I can afford this much house. Oh wait, no, I can't because of property taxes, and then we go from there. Okay. Those of you that already own a home, of course, you're already paying property taxes. So, you know, yours is already taken into consideration. So I'm not going to worry about it. I do want to write this down real quick. Something that a lot of people don't understand about property taxes, if you even know about them at all much, is you don't really understand where they go. And so that's just something else I just want to talk about. So first of all, the property tax is paid to the county. When you buy a house, you owe money to the bank to buy the house and the land. The state, or the county rather, will be collecting money from you for property tax from now until forever. Even when you pay the house off, they will still be collecting it. Okay. The county has dibs. So if you, for instance, don't pay your property taxes, the county will take your house away. They will take it away, even though the bank technically owns the home. The county will take it. They get dibs in that case. Okay. So then this is how that goes. So the bank doesn't want to get screwed. So if you currently owe more than 80% of the loan, the bank will make you pay, this is a typical number, pay the property tax to the bank so that the bank will make sure the county gets the money. Okay, so if you, for instance, go down and you put 20% down right off the bat of the house, okay, that means you currently own 20% of the house. So if you bought a $200,000 home, you put $40,000 down. That's 20% of the cost of the home. You're into the home for 20%. In other words, you say you have 20% equity in the home. Okay. At that point, typically is when the banks say, you know what, obviously you're into this. You have a lot of skin in the game, if you will. You're going to lose a lot in this if you go bankrupt on this house and the county takes it away. we trust you to pay the property taxes yourself. Okay. If you only own, let's say 5 or 6 or 10 or whatever percent of the home, the bank's still not sure that they can trust you. So as a result, the bank will make you pay them the property tax, and then they will make sure the county gets the money, because again, county has dibs on that deal. Okay. So if you go on Zillow and look around, you will always find houses that are being foreclosed on. Sometimes it's because they didn't pay the bank. Sometimes it's because they didn't pay the property taxes. Okay. But in either case, they're being foreclosed on. It's going to be sold, and typically at an auction deal. Not always, but a lot of times. And there you go. In Columbia County, we see a lot of people that aren't paying their property taxes, and they lose their houses in a sheriff's sale, and it's an auction deal. So pay your property taxes is the big takeaway there. So something else that I think is a little mind blowing, and I like to show people because I think it's something I enjoy doing, I guess. If you search Washington, for instance, I just do Washington counties. Washington County and Columbia County are pretty good sites. I know them pretty well, obviously, from teaching in Washington, living in Oregon, and in Columbia County. I know them pretty well. Multnomah County is a little uglier to use. I've done it a few times. I don't like it. I can find my way around it, but it's not a very user-friendly one. Most of the rest of them around the world are fairly user-friendly-ish. So if you Google Washington County Assessor, click on tax statements, you can actually go in and see. So I'm going to type in 1460. Type in right there, 1460 Alder Street. All the rest that's in black is not important. Hit enter, and yep, here we go. And what just happened? Why didn't it pop up? Oh, did it block? Oh, it blocked a pop-up, didn't it? Sorry. I'm like, what happened? Let's try it again. 1460 Alder. Where's my pop-up? Give me my pop-up. Give it to me. There it comes. Yes. Okay. So this is what that person is paying in that dumpy place we were just looking at a minute ago. This is what they're paying every year in property taxes. Okay. And so you can see that there's our 1430.06. That's the property tax from 2019, 2020. If you were to pay the taxes, if you're paying in full by November 15, 2019, so that was last year's, you could have taken $13.87. You could have paid that amount and then a $42 discount. If you'd have paid it by 1/3, 2/3, you could take a different amounts off. Okay. But if you paid in full, you could have they always give you a discount. And that's true in every county that I've ever been around, ever. So if you go down the list here, you can see where this is paying. So right off the bat, they're paying $23 a year to Portland Community College, $12.44 to the regional ESD, which is over in Hillsborough School District, and then some educational taxes too, and then Washington County for the sheriff and that sort of thing, courts, everything that is Washington County out there. The Metro, because you're part of the Metro bus system and whatnot. The Port of Portland has to do with the airport that's out there. City of Hillsborough themselves gets $300 a year. Apparently we're not giving anything to clean water anymore. That's interesting. Hillsborough DOT, so the Department of Transportation, the roads and whatnot. I'm not sure what the LOL is about. Whatever. And then so on and so on and so on. Okay. And down the line. And then this is bonds where they borrowed money to build stuff. So the Washington County, Hillsborough, Metro Services, PCC, and all that adds up to this. Okay. That is not a terrible amount of money to pay, $1,400, not bad at all. I'm going to go to Columbia County real quick. If you put in tax, it makes your life easier. There we go. All righty then. You have to know where to click on this one here. So property tax, Property tax, I think it's this one. Oh, no. Wait, what happened here? Oh, for Pete's sakes. They changed it a little bit on me. The tax statements. There we go. Oh, it's right here. That's what it is. They just changed the look of it. There we are. So, site address. So, in this one, you actually choose what city you're interested in. I'm going to put in my old neighbor. Number 33241. No, 267. All right, search. Oh, there it is. Got it. Yeah, this is the one. So if you look at the summary, the tax statement here, rather. Wait, you can find out who lives? Yes, this is all public knowledge, which is hilarious. Every time I teach this in class, people are like, oh my God, I can't believe that's online. Everything about you is online. But anyway, it's always find people weird out about this thing. Are you back, Ross? All right, got it. People always get weirded out about that, and I don't really understand why, but there it is. So again, this is out in Scappoose. You're like, whoa, holy crap, $3,500 a year in Scappoose. It must be a fancy house. It really isn't that fancy of a house. It's an okay house. It's not fancy at all. It must be big. No, 2,000 maybe square feet, maybe 1,800. It's not that big. It's okay, but it's not big. So look what they're paying into. So they pay the Northwest Regional ESD, which is in Hillsborough, which covers the 4 counties, Tillamook, Columbia, Clatsop, and Washington County. So we pay out here about 3 times what you pay in Hillsborough for that. He's paying $1,100 a year to the Scappoose School District and $63 to the community college, which is hilarious because the guy is 93 years old. Okay. He's paying to Columbia County for the sheriff, for the assessor to run everything in town in the Columbia County, $290. The jail is not included. The jail is its own thing, $128 to run the jail. 4-H gets a piece, 911 or 911, Columbia, the vectors, that's controlling mosquitoes and rats and so forth. Port of Columbia County, Scappoose Library. So your free library card costs this guy $56 a year. Okay. And so on and so on and so on. Scappoose City gets $716, the fire department gets $522, and so on and so on and so on. And then on top of that, there's the bond. So Portland Community College, again, if you remember the other guy we looked at in Hillsborough a few minutes ago was paying, I think, $60 for the bond for the community college. Yeah, this guy here is paying $90 for it. And then the school district, they built a school a couple years ago, so it's $305 a year. Okay, it's just kind of crazy how much money that they spend in that case. So if you pay it all by November 15th, you get to deduct a couple $100 off of it or something. You can pay it in 3 parts, equal parts, and then you can be paying $3,500. You can pay this much, and then you can pay the rest of it that day, and you'll pay that much total. So the deal is they're trying to do everything they can to encourage you to pay on time / early. And by the way, you can bet that the bank is paying early and getting a discount and pocketing them a difference. You would be too. It's just how life goes. Why would you wait till later to pay extra? It's just how it is. So I want you to take the property tax into consideration, and I want you to feel good. I want you to feel good knowing that you understand how these property taxes go. And so every year, typically in May, but sometimes in November too, there's always bonds on their thing. Should we spend this for this? Should we spend this for this? And a lot of people say, oh yeah, just vote it in. Most of that comes out of your property taxes. Okay, well, all of it does really, if it's local stuff. So just be aware of that. You say, well, I live in an apartment, I don't pay it. You do. So that's why your rent went up. Maybe it didn't go up this year, but it went up $100 last year. At some point, the county's going to get its due. Okay, so there's really not a whole lot of getting around that. So, Any questions in general about the project? I think hopefully you feel a little more comfortable about it now, but I want you to make sure you take that into account. If you don't own a home, I want you to take into account, can I really afford this house if I include property tax? I'll quit sharing. Anyone? Anyone still awake? No one's talking. All righty then. So yeah, I'll record this and get it posted up. It will be posted later today. This thing takes forever when you record a Zoom. I'm not sure why, but it takes forever to process. So it'll be later today before it gets posted up, but you can refer to it. So this week you'll have watched videos on intro to statistics. If you haven't already, you should have, and some graphs in Excel. There's a graphing assignment that's coming up. Should have opened this week, I think. If you watch the videos, you'll see how to do it. It's pretty straightforward. I may make a little supplemental video too. Normally what I would do today in class after I did this is normally I would talk a little bit more about kind of the reasoning why we like this graph versus this graph. Why is this graph better than that graph? So that's on my list of things to do today. Is kind of more of a supplemental graph of understanding why a pie chart is better than a bar chart for some things, and why it's better the other way around sometimes as well. Things of that nature. Just so that if you're ever called to put on a presentation, hopefully you can put a chart that makes sense to people up. I had a boss a few years ago. Well, he was assistant principal, and his job was to talk about discipline stuff and attendance and things. And so he'd stand up there and he would show us this one graph every time. It was just basically a speedometer, and he'd be over to 90%. He's like, "Look at us, we're at 90% attendance." I'm like, "Okay, that's not helping me at all, dude. You could have just said we're at 90%. I didn't need to see the graph that we're at 90% on a speedometer. It doesn't do anything for me." And then he would do some crazy things with his graphs too, in terms of St. Helens is not really a hotbed for behavioral issues. So he would have a bar for every infraction that could ever have been. There were like 50 bars across there, and they were so close together you couldn't read them all. So like 3 kids were caught smoking in a bathroom, and 1 kid was caught sneaking off campus, and 1 kid was caught this, and like there's 50 bars, and you couldn't read it. And I was like, "What are you doing, dude?" And he goes, I said, "Why don't you just stick to the top 4 or 5 or 10 problems, tardies, skipping, whatever, the top 3 or 4 of them. Why don't you show us those, and then maybe we can then, kind of hit at that. Maybe we can address those and make those go away." So the next week or 2 weeks later, he comes in with the presentation. There was the 4 bars that I told him to make, but then he included an other bar, which is like 8 miles tall. Well, it's because he threw everything else into the other bar. I'm like, "What did you do that for?" He's like, "It looks like now we have like murders and God knows what happening under the other category." I said, "You can't do that." I said, "Ignore the rest of those. Those are just one-offs. Like one kid did, like he did a burnout in the like in the front lawn or something. Okay, well that's a one-off. It doesn't happen very often. It's not like that happens every day or something stupid like that happens every day. So why would you include that on there?" Well, I mean, again, what was the whole point of telling us about these problems? The whole point was so that we as teachers can maybe address these issues in our classrooms. We can approach it from a different way to hopefully make a dent in skipping, tardies, whatever it happens to be. And then we can actually make something happen. Just telling me that there's a problem, okay, cool, there's a problem. All right, you're the captain of the Titanic. Listen, folks, the ship's sinking. Okay, well, what are you gonna do about it? Oh, I don't know. I just wanted to let you know that the ship's sinking. Oh, that's cool. Typically, there's okay, so here's the facts. Okay, now let's do something about it. Okay, again, that's what statistics is all about. So when you present something, you want clear graphics. So I think that's what I'll be doing this afternoon. I'll be doing a little addendum to that graphing one. It'll be fairly short. The video that's up currently tells how to make them. There's one for Google Sheets and one for Excel. Use the appropriate one for your benefit there. But in terms of my extra video, will be more along the lines of why should I use this one versus that. Okay. Anything else you need? Questions, comments, concerns?
Mm-hmm.
Hit me.
So the loan worksheet, that is indeed due tomorrow.
Yeah, I don't know. I've looked.
Because I was under the impression that we had 2 weeks to do our different the homeworks that we went over in class, and then what was
No,
due.
you're right. It should be moved back a week. All right.
What's that?
Yeah, I'll move it back a week.
Okay, so the loan worksheet's not due tomorrow
Nope.
because it said as much that that
No,
the
you're right. The date's wrong.
there's some dates that are off and in different places, or that are off in the desire to learn.
Like
So
what?
I've been trying to follow along with that and like know where I'm at, but I felt
Like
a little
what? Like which
confused.
one?
Well, so the loan worksheet.
Which
Actually, I
just
guess
said.
maybe that's the one. And the other thing is I think in my own mind, I'm just a little bit. I would love a little recap of where I'm supposed to be at with my homework and assignments and all that, or just a recap of what we've done so far in the class, kind of thing.
Well, credit card and loan worksheets are due. I mean, for the credit, they're out there. Work on them, get them done, and
Yeah.
start working on the financial project probably much today. And graphing assignment is open, but it's not due yet, and not for a long time actually. And yeah, then your homework from the book, the book, the financial stuff, you should be pretty basically done with in the book.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Okay. So the you say begin the financial project, which is what we just went over today,
Yep.
and that's due technically in 2 weeks, right?
Well, no, it's due a week from today, a week from tomorrow. But that's because you've had 2 weeks. You've already have all the information. The only
Okay.
difference is that no, that the loan worksheet. No, the loan worksheet is due a week from tomorrow. A week from tomorrow. The loan project's not due for till May 17th or something. The financial project's not due till like May 17th. You've got a
Okay.
long time to work on that.
Yeah, that's what I
The
thought. I
loan
think
worksheet's due a week from tomorrow.
okay. Yeah, it must have just been the loan worksheet that had the due date on it, forever, and that it was due tomorrow. And I think that was one thing that was throwing me off a little. So
Okey-doke.
That logical fallacy assignment, did we ever do that?
That one's not up yet, is it?
No, it said it was closed on March 20th. I was just making sure.
No, the date's wrong. No,
Somehow
the
missed it.
date's wrong. No, so that'll come up later.
Okay. And also, are we turning homework in anytime?
Yeah, so the financial part of the book homework, I'll have a Dropbox up for you.
Okay.
I'll have a Dropbox up for you. I'll put it up. Let's just make it due next. Let's make it due next week. So I haven't up. I should have it up by now. So I'll have it up by next week. Like next Sunday, I'll have it up. So there'll be a Dropbox uploaded.
Okay.
The book homework.
does that coincide with our
loan.
exam test?
No, I don't think the exam's coming up soon right now, is it? That's what, May. No, I have to go look at the schedule again. May, what day is the exam? May.
I suppose that's also what I meant when I was saying my confusion around dates and stuff is that some things say May when they mean March, or March when they mean May. And
I don't think anything says March yet, except for that one discussion, which is closed, which I haven't opened yet. So that one has not been officially set, correct? I don't think. Everything else is May. I'll go double check everything today. But I don't think it was from last term. It never got updated, but it's fine because I'll sign that later in the term.
okay, yeah,
The fallacy is the last thing we do.
okay.
So I just haven't assigned it yet, I guess. So it's no big deal. But yeah, so cool. The test is, when is the test? The test is, oh, for God's sakes, Jay. Where's your syllabus? Just grab the syllabus. Yep.
So
The midterm is on the 9th.
okay, and so the midterm is when the first half section of our homework is due.
Yeah.
And then
that'll be the statistics and the financial stuff. Yeah, that's what I'll do. I'll just make it so it's all due the 9th. That's what I would have done in class anyways. So they'll all be due on the 9th. It'll be the statistics and the financial stuff will be due that day. So everything from the book,
Okay.
the financial and the statistics will be due on the 9th when we take the test. The 9th, that test will be a 3-hour test, take-home test, obviously, and you'll have 3 hours to do it, and then you'll have a half an hour to upload me everything, so that don't put it off and don't wait till the last minute, and there better not be any computer issues. So you get like a half an hour to worry about computer issues and stuff, so it shouldn't be a big deal. Normally you'd have
Okay, and
3 hours in class.
That's at home, obviously. I
Yep.
know sometimes things are proctored.
Nope,
Okay.
can't do it. Can't do it this time.
Anything else we should know?
I don't think so. I think that's it.
Do we have anything due tomorrow?
I don't think so. I don't think so. Let's see. Just the credit card worksheet's the last thing. If you haven't turned that in, that's due tomorrow. There's a couple of you that haven't turned that in yet.
Okay.
That's it, though.
If anybody wants to study or like Zoom meeting, I'm totally open. I know I've already harassed people through email, but this is Kia talking. Reach out if you're interested. Okay.
All right. We'll see y'all later then.
Thank you.
Yep. Bye.